I want to talk about is leading your horse. And when I train my horses to lead, I want them with their head out for me. I do not encourage people to hold the clip right here, even though it seems like it gives you good head control. It might be able to stop you from him putting his head down, or stop him from putting his head down. But really, with the leverage of the horse, it is not the best control position. You should have some slack in there, like about 3 feet is good, so that if he was to swing away from you, you can get in a power position and brace yourself and stop him, pull him around in a way that he is not powerful. So this is how I recommend you lead the horse. If the horse gets too close, you should be able to drive him away, and he should yield out of your space, yielding his front quarters by crossing over. If you look at his hindquarters, he should step under. He should follow your lead. He should stop when you should stop. He should back easily. So when you're walking, you should follow along. I don't want a horse following right behind me, because if they were to spook, they could run me over. I don't want the horse going ahead of me, because then he's not following me. So how you lead your horse and how you interact with your horse on the ground is a foundation for how he's going to think of you when you ride. So if you have a problem with grass, which we've got nice clover here, and he loves it, a good time to deal with that is on the ground. So if he's got a lead rope and a halter on, he's on duty. So this is my training flag, and I use this. I'll throw the extra rope over my shoulder and walk along like this. I don't have a super tight grip, but if I stop, he should stop like that. And then if I step forward, he should step forward. If I yield past him and he doesn't move, I'll ask him to yield over. If I need him to move over here, I can cue him over like this. I can disengage him. I can swing around the other way. So a training flag is just what I call a number 4. When you're working with your horse, if there's something you want to address, you want to be sure that you have something that's enough of a motivator to make him do it. So I don't carry this when I'm interacting with my own saddle horses, but when I'm training, I'll use this flag to say, speed up, and then when I stop, he stops. So if you're in a situation where you need to get his attention, the simplest way to deal with this, if you stop and he walks off, is to simply turn around and go the other way. You don't have to be chasing him with the flag, but if you stop and he looks that way or wants to go that way, then you make your point by going the other direction. And pretty soon he'll learn, oh, I better keep an eye on her. If I don't keep an eye on her, we might end up going another direction, and the leading will get a lot better just with that simple exercise. So if I was standing here and he looked that way, I would turn away. You can also turn into him. And you notice, you don't have to swing the stick at him if he doesn't move. You can swing it on the opposite side of yourself. So you can say, go this way and go out here. And you can, if you have a horse that's really tall and raises his head above you to throw his head up over you, you can raise your hand or raise your stick, and you can get really tall. Now if you're trying to move your horse and his shoulder won't move, and you're trying to motivate the front end to move, you have to go in line with the eye. A horse will move away with the eye. If you're trying to move his front body, he could turn his head away from you and let you tap on his shoulder and just ignore you and keep doing what he's wanting to do. So you need to be assertive. If you find your horse is ignoring you, you need to be assertive to move it. You need to start with your softest cue, which might be just walking towards him, and then get after him a little bit firmer. And pretty soon they'll learn to move out of your way, to be respectful of your personal space, which is what makes it safe. Having a good grip on there isn't what makes it safe. It's having an attentive horse that's paying attention and ready to go with you. I've got him free here. I'm going to set him off. I'm pointing and flipping. A little bit muddy in here, so got to figure out his footing. So you should move off, and I'm going to kind of follow him with my eyes, and I'm not going to continue cueing as long as he's doing what I'm saying. Okay, so he's still trotting, he's avoiding the wet spot, but he's trotting. So I won't cue or swing this stick unless he slows down. It's his responsibility to keep going. Same as when you're riding. Don't keep clicking and bumping your horse if you think he's going to slow down. You let him make the mistake first. Okay, so now wait till you can get to where you can see him. Okay, so now I'm going to draw him in. I'm going to cross over and back up. And he knows that means he's supposed to stop and face me. And being a sweet fellow, he's going to come in for some attention. So you can either accept that, or if you want him to stay back, you back him out. Back, 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 back. And I'm going to send him off that way. So it is good to follow through when you do cue. He decides to walk. Mainly what I want is I want forward momentum. Being responsible to follow directions. So I use a whisking sound when I want him to canter, and I'm going to point higher. Okay, so you see here, he wants to stop and hang out by that next mare. So I'm going to send him off again. And then I'm going to draw him in and then redirect him. Okay, and so he knows what that means. So I'm going to cross over, switch hands with the stick, and redirect him. And as soon as I see his eye on the other side, I'm going to step towards him. This guy has more whoa than go, which a lot of people appreciate. Oh. And so if the stick's just in front, center, he knows that means to stop and come in. And so this is the first thing I teach horses when I work with them, and then I want him to hook on. And hook on is their way of starting the attitude of I am with her mentally, because there's no rope between us, so he can leave at any time, but he knows the place of rest and companionship and no pressure is right here with me. And so this is a good way to teach correct leading. You see he's leading correctly. When I stop, he stops. If I go past him, he knows he needs to move out of the way and follow me. If I change directions, he's going to follow me too. Okay? I can look at his hindquarters. I can send him off this way. I can move. Come on. Move his body. Draw him back in. And so there's a companionship that can start in the round pen through groundwork, working with their mind, and it's a very useful tool. This doesn't have to be just part of their starting. There's a lot of good videos online, and there's different approaches, but it's pressure and release, drawing, sending, directing, and being able to back it up, being consistent, and this is a good foundation for riding because you're working with the horse's mind. So another really important thing you're going to want to do a lot of is this flexing. It starts on the ground. This is your one rein stop, your turning, your safety. This is so important, being able to have the horse flex laterally, and he needs to be able to drop his head and give vertically, just like that. You know, and then if you want him to actually get his weight back on his hindquarters before you release. The key is releasing when he does the right thing, being patient and persistent, and adding to the cueing firmly until he does the right thing. If he doesn't get it. When I'm training a horse, I start him off in the side pull, It has a firm nose band. It fits like a bridle, no bit, and it's really good to just introduce them the concept of pressure and release and getting used to the reins. I don't use a bit for maybe the first year of riding because the security is not in the bit, and a lot of times that adds something else for them to worry about or get adjusted to. So when I'm done riding, I will take some carabiners and clip a bit in just to the rope halter and let them get used to that. That bit can be introduced later on, but as they're adjusting to being ridden and learning just the basics, this is a really good head stall to get. You can get these online. Just look up side pull. These are called slobber straps, and I use them with a rope, a regular soft rope rein. And why I like this is that you can adjust the length of the rein really easy. You can put a knot right where you want to do your one rein stop, and that makes it really easy to grip if you have to pull hard or something. The slobber straps allow you also to unbuckle or undo a rope. You take it out, and if you've got a rope halter on, you can attach it to the rope halter, and now you've got a lead rope, a nice length lead rope. You can tie them to a tree safely. It's just versatile for trails and whatever, so that's something I use. Now I want to talk about unhaltering your horse. So it may not seem like a big deal, but everybody likes to have an easy time haltering your horse. Well, the key to haltering your horse easily is unhaltering it. So what I'm going to do, if I was in a pen, works for a head stall or a halter. You're going to pull it up, and you see I'm not letting it come off. And so he's moving his head around because he knows it's going to come off. But what you're going to do is you're going to stand there, and you're going to wait for him to get his head bent around. See if I can get a picture. Right there. So you wait till it's right, and when you go to put it on, you're going to let his head drop down in it and pull it over his ears. But I'm just going to demonstrate taking it off again. You're going to wait till his head tips down and right in a nice position, and that's where you're going to take it off. Because they learn that's the position to get the halter off. Then when you go to halter them, they'll automatically put their head in the same position, and both unhaltering and haltering will be really easy. So lunging your horse with a rope, this is a 14-foot rope. It's my favorite length for training. It allows you enough tail to swing. There's enough distance that they can canter around, but it's not too much rope. When you lunge your horse, you always cue them clearly, especially in the beginning. More clear when they're learning. You can get more subtle as they get more adjusted. So he's going to move off, and you're going to let that rope slide through your hands so he has enough space to go around. Don't send him off and then pull him up short by not giving him enough rope to move around with. So then to stop him, you're going to take and pull that rope in and look at his hindquarters. So I maybe only tipped his nose in a little bit, not much. And then I want his hindquarters to step under and face me. So since he didn't, I'm going to send him off the other way. So let that rope slide over your thumb, and then you want to stop it, take it with the other hand, pull it through. Just like we talked about with the reins, how you pull the rope through your hand or lift it up and help your other hand to get a shorter rope. You back them out, back, back, back. So if your horse is backing lazy, he needs to back off the rope pressure. You can tap him on the feet, and it helps encourage him to step back really well. So send him off. If you want to change directions, you go across in front of his path and send him off. We'll show that again. Step back, send him off. Disengage his hindquarters. There. You see how he stepped under and back? That's really important. Disengaging the hindquarters shuts down his forward momentum. When a horse is disengaging their hindquarters and they're flexing well, they can't do any of the naughty behavior that people don't want. Yield his forehand, and here's a nice flex. There. So ideally you want him to stop right away, but if he moves around, you stay anchored right by his hip, and you wait. So his head's a little bit angled like that. I prefer it if it was more up and down. So I'll let go when it is up and down. because they learn from the release of pressure. So when you're flexing your horse, don't stand right here, because then when you pull their head around, you're in the way. So stand further back. Put your hand back where the back of the saddle is. If you didn't have a saddle, I'd have my hand around the center of his back. So you're going to stand there, and you're going to wait, just light pressure until he looks over, then you release. Okay? And that's how you teach them to flex correctly, is releasing when they do it right. Do it a lot so that they do it without even thinking about it. And that'll make all your steering excellent. Now, when your horse gets excited, I call it getting up. Okay, so maybe you cause the excitement, maybe something else caused the excitement. When your horse is lazy or if they're calm, that's down. So where you want your horse is right in the middle. So when you're training him and you're motivating him, he's running around, you want to be able to bring him back down and get him up and down, and that's collection. So you're working in groundwork on mental collection. About this far to this side, and be able to toss a rope over his back and look for signs of relaxation. So he's not very excited right now, but if he was, I would be looking for, if his head was up, I'd want his head to come down. Now he's already completely relaxed, but the things that you're looking for are head down, relaxed ears, relaxed eyes. If he was not stamping feet, relaxed hind foot. And so you throw the rope over his back or his haunches. You change places. When he's good with one spot, you go to another place. So you're tossing the rope over until he shows back one sign of relaxing, one more side. Then you stop. Then you can come up and rub him, and then move back and toss that string over again. So if you're out on the trail, you can use the end of your lead rope. And this becomes a cue to teach him to relax. You're not just desensitizing him to the rope, though that happens. You're teaching him to relax by stopping when you see one sign of relaxing, rubbing him, and going back and doing it all over again.
Oh.
Okay, I'm just going to show you really quick a really safe, secure way of tying up your horse. Your horse's skull connects to its neck bone right up here behind the pole, and that's where these halters pull. So a horse can develop a pullback issue, or if he already has a pullback issue, or if he gets scared, he can pull back really hard and it doesn't really hurt him that much. But to teach them not to pull back, this is a safe way to do it. So I've got a butterfly knot in here, which allows this rope to come all the way around. This will not change as long as there's pull on it. Then you can go through that loop and tie the same kind of rope knot that you would use on a rope halter. He can pull really hard on it, but it won't go any tighter on his throat. And it pulls on this section of muscle here, which is uncomfortable for him, so he's going to want to give to that. Then you run this rope through, it's right through this part on the other side of his head, through this halter right there. That will keep his nose pointing toward the tree. You go 2 times around the tree. If he pulls really hard on this, it won't make the knot come too tight. Then right here, I've got a quick release knot. And that way, if he does get himself into a bind, you can quickly undo him. So find a quick release you like, go 2 times around the tree, tie through the rope halter to the neck, do it this way, and you've got a safe way that your horse will learn to be well behaved and cooperative. As you can see, Hidalgo is a little cautious on the rocks. Here in our area of Wisconsin, we have really fine sand. Our pens are fine sand. We just came out of winter, and the ground was really soft for their feet. And so just like human beings, horses have soles to their feet, and they need to get toughened up. So you can do that by putting like a fine pebble, kind of like you would have at a park, around their water tanks or a place where they frequently go. And as they walk on that, if you don't have rocks in your pens already, that will help toughen up their natural sole. So I'm going to show you a little bit about feet. We do our own hoof trimming here. We started off learning the traditional way from a farrier, and they, carve out the sole, and he recommended using shoes for the one paint that we had. But since then we've studied a natural hoof trimming way, And we really try to do less invasive hoof trimming and allow the hoof to develop its own thickness and durability. So the first thing I'm going to say is when you go to pick up your horse's hoof, I train them so you stand here and you run your hand down, and they should pick it up, and you can cup it here and clean it out. Very simple. Let it down nice and gentle, and then I run my hand along his side and down his hip, and you can reach down and lift up and then step under. And the way that I'm holding this, like this, I've got a hold of his hock, and he cannot pull it away. Then I put my hand back on his hip and put it down. That is the correct way to pick up a hind hoof. If they try to pull it forward, you've got their leg right against your thigh, and it gives you a very secure feeling. Some of their weight is balanced. Your legs are spread far apart. So this is important. It helps them to be well behaved about having their feet worked with. If you do it in a stable way, where they can't just pick it up and put it down and get away with it, because they're habit horses, and if you have sloppy ways of dealing with their feet, then they start developing bad habits. So you run your hand down, pick it up, clean it out, set down, hand down. I just pat here, and if they don't listen to the patting with these flies, then I'll tap lightly on their heel with that. Step under. I've got my arm, as you can see, around here. Clean out like that, and then place down. So if you have a tenderfoot horse, say you do have a farrier that comes and carves away too much of the sole, I highly recommend asking your farrier not to carve away at the sole of the hoof, just to round it over. The horse should carry its weight evenly on the frog, the sole, and the hoof. But if they're tenderfoot or they're having some issues where the farrier is recommending to use shoes, we recommend these easy boots, because then you can put them on when you need it. You don't really want the horse on shoes all the time. You want them getting toughened up in their pen. But then when you go for a ride, you might be riding, like our driveway is pretty rocky. It's got some big coarse rocks, or on the road if they've got harsh rocks, or even acorns for some of the tenderfoot horses, or in the spring. These easy boots you can buy. I like the way they Velcro around the ankle, so if they do come off, you don't lose them. You just stop, pop them back on. They're very size specific, so you have to order it especially to fit your horse. So these are good for the front hooves. And so you'll reach down and set the hoof in there, and if it's going to be a tight fit, so I like to put it down so they kind of set it down on their toe, and it pushes the hoof, pops it in there really good. These are really big for his feet, but just to show, you go like that, and they'll go great with that. So if there's any tenderfoot issues, you can go anywhere and they're happy about it. I would only use these, I may even carry my saddlebags, where it's really rocky, and only when they're tenderfoot. As soon as they don't need it, you don't use it.